God doesn't upgrade people loudly. He upgrades them irreversibly. Most people think divine reward looks like money, fame, applause, or a sudden glow-up that makes enemies choke on their own jealousy. That's cute. The truth is far more unsettling and far more precise. Throughout history, the greatest shifts never announced themselves with fireworks. They slipped in quietly, rewired reality, and left people confused about why nothing worked the way it used to. Empires fell, systems collapsed, and leaders lost control. Not because someone shouted louder, but because someone saw clearer. Here's a fact that doesn't get talked about enough. Real power has always been given after isolation, not before recognition. Every figure that altered the course of history, spiritually, intellectually, or structurally, was first misunderstood, delayed, minimized, or sidelined, not as punishment, but as preparation. Neuroscience even confirms this. Prolonged adversity literally rewires the brain, increasing pattern recognition, emotional regulation, and long-term decision-making. In simple terms, pressure upgrades perception. So no, what you went through wasn't random, and no, it wasn't just to make you stronger, it was to make you accurate. And here's where it gets almost funny. Because while people were busy thinking you were stuck, behind, or doing too much, something else was happening. Your tolerance for nonsense dropped, your patience got sharper, your reactions got quieter. You stopped arguing with people who can't hear you anyway. You stopped explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding you. That's not maturity. That's recalibration. That's God handing you a form of power that doesn't announce itself, doesn't posture, and doesn't need permission. This isn't about being chosen in a dramatic, cape-wearing way. This is about being trusted. Trusted with clarity. Trusted with restraint. Trusted with influence that doesn't look impressive until it's too late to undo. The world is obsessed with visible power. God, however, specializes in functional power, the kind that works even when no one's clapping, especially then. So if things feel quieter, sharper, and strangely heavier all at once, relax. That's not pressure, that's weight. And weight only comes when something valuable is being placed in your hands, preferably when everyone else is distracted scrolling. What's happening to you now isn't about being seen more, heard more, or finally getting the credit people think you deserve. In fact, the opposite is true. God didn't increase your volume, He increased your effect. When you move through a space now, things don't just react, they change. Permanently. Conversations don't go back to how they were. Relationships don't reset. Systems don't recover their old balance. And that's how you know this isn't ordinary influence. Influence fades when attention shifts. Impact stays long after you leave. This is why people feel unsettled around you without knowing why. You're not doing anything dramatic. You're not forcing opinions or demanding space. Yet somehow, after interacting with you, they think differently, question things they used to defend, and notice patterns they once ignored. You don't convince people. You disrupt their internal wiring. And that kind of disruption can't be undone with time, excuses, or denial. Irreversible impact comes from depth, not noise. You've been through enough to strip away the need to impress. You don't over-explain. You don't overreact. You don't chase validation. That restraint is exactly what gives your words weight when you do speak, and meaning when you don't. People can argue with loud voices. They struggle with grounded ones. This is also why some doors close the moment you walk away, and never reopen. Not out of spite, but because whatever role you played there has finished doing its work. You weren't meant to stay visible. You were meant to leave something altered. And once that alteration happens, your assignment moves on. The world celebrates popularity because it's easy to measure. God deals in consequences because they're impossible to fake. That's the reward. Not applause, not recognition, not a spotlight. but the ability to shift reality without needing permission. You don't need to dominate rooms anymore. You change them by existing fully as yourself. And once that kind of impact is activated, nothing goes back to the way it was before you arrived.